Two kings is the second best hand you can get in Hold'em. It can also be a scary hand to play because generally, second best hands will cost you a lot of money. The trick to playing kings, or any big pocket pair for that matter, is not to marry them. If you're playing no limit Hold'em, it's rarely ever correct to throw away pocket kings before the flop. Yes, there are some situations where that could be the right play, but let's put it to you this way. I've been playing Hold'em for 15 years, and I've only done it once. Oh, and by the way, my opponent had pocket queens. When you get kings before the flop, you're going to play them, clearly. The only question is how. The standard answer is to simply play them as you would any other hand you'd play. You know, come in for a moderate raise, say 3 times the blind. If that's what you normally do with marginal hands, then that's what you should do with kings, so that way you won't raise any suspicion. Hands like aces or kings, they just don't come along very often, so it's important to maximize your profit with them. So raise or even re-raise, but don't make a play that your opponents may see as peculiar. Okay, so let's say that you've made it to the flop now. There's only one card that you'd absolutely hate to see, and that's the ace. Unless, of course, you know, there's a king sitting right next to it. Generally, that ace is the kiss of death for kings. That doesn't mean, however, that you should just abort mission. Your opponent may not have the ace, which means your kings would still be ahead. How you proceed should depend on several key factors: position, texture of the board, and stack size. Position. If you're out of position, it's usually best to check with your kings and wait to see if your opponent bets the ace. If he does bet the ace, you'll have to delve into your memory bank and ask yourself if your opponent is much of a bluffer. Unless you feel very strongly that your opponent is bluffing, dump the kings right on the flop. On the other hand, if you have position, your opponent will likely check to you. In that case, you have two options. One, you could bet now and hope he folds, or two, check behind him, protecting yourself from a possible check raise. When to bet and when to check is a function of the texture of the board. If the flop comes down ace-6-6, ace-a-7, or ace-7 deuce, you can feel free to check your pair of kings. If your kings are the best hand after the flop, they'll likely be the best hand by the river as well. If you check it down the river, you protect yourself from being bluffed, while at the same time you induce your opponent to bluff. Now, if the texture of that board comes, say, ace-8-9 with 2 of a suit, then you might want to take one stab at the flop to protect your hand against a drawing hand. If you get raised, though, you're pretty much forced to fold your kings. The problem with continuing with the kings after a raise is that if you are behind, you only have 2 cards in the deck that could save you. Your stack size is important, too. If, for example, you find yourself in a poker tournament and you're low on chips, and on the flop you should probably go all in anyway. If someone has the ace, that's just bad luck. There isn't much you can do about that. If you do have a lot of chips, though, then proceed cautiously and dump the hand if the action gets heated. I get tons of emails from people who tell me about their bad luck with pocket kings, but often after listening to them describe the hand, it becomes quite obvious that while, yeah, it was unlucky losing with kings, they got married to the hand and lost way more than they should have.